This is Robert Glass. I'd like to introduce you to the Glass and Gold Net Tuition Revenue Calculator. Very useful tool in determining how small changes in your conversion rates can have a big effect on your bottom line net revenue. Additional advantage of this tool is that you'll be able to identify weaknesses within your conversions. And as a result, I'll show you how you can begin to work through the development of some communication strategy changes that you might obviously need to consider once you see these numbers and conversions. What I've got here is live data from a client for the years 2009 through this year, which is about to conclude. What we have here on our left-hand column is the different stages within the admissions funnel. Here in our blue area, we have the average of these 4 years. And so we see that this particular institution has averaged almost 40,000 inquiries, conversions of inquiries to applications, very high rate, almost 24%, which is almost double peer numbers. But if we look here in our red box, we can see that the conversions of applications to completed applications is really very, very low. It's virtually half of where it ought to be, as reported again by peer institutions. And then another troublesome area, as we go down the funnel, we see the yield rate as being about 15%. Let's look over here real quickly, and I'll show you how. Here we go. Here is our percentages again for all the years. Institutional peer average for yield is about 40%. This is looking at the National Association of Christian College Admissions personnel numbers for schools that enroll over 1,800. So again, we're at about 14, 15%, so over, well, quite a bit lower. Now, you can see that this coming year, our net revenue, anticipated net revenue for the class that's about to enroll 513 students is a little more than $6.6 million. And we have a 4-year net revenue total here as well. And I'll, at some other point, explain how this is calculated. But let's look at something important here. Let's scroll down to the orange area and show you how, if we chose to, for example, change our yield rate from 15.64, just bring it up slightly to 18%. That added increase in enrollment, as you see here, is 626 versus the 513. I'm comparing this data, the baseline data for 2012. Added net revenue with a 2.4% increase in yield is almost $1.4 million, a little bit more than $1.4 million. 4-year revenue is 1.5. One reason that 4-year revenue is relatively low is because our graduation rate over 4 years is relatively low. What would happen if we changed that graduation rate to, we increased it by 5%? That change alone would increase net revenue over 4 years, increase net revenue by $1.6 million. Now, let's go over, just to give you a better idea, let's change more than one variable to determine our changes in net revenue. Let's say that we kept our inquiries the same, conversion rate the same, our application completion rate, let's change that to, let's go up to 52%, which is still quite low, but we'll just look at it that way. Stealth applications, the stealth application completion rate, interestingly, for this school, as we see on our average, our 4-year average is about 6 percentage points below conventional application completion rate, so it's very low. One strategy might be to look at stealth apps and how we can massage those a little bit better. Let's go down to here, our yield rate. We are averaging for 2012, 14.75. Let's increase that to, let's just bring it up to 16%, just as a what if. 16%. Our summer melt for this particular year is 10%, a little bit more. We're anticipating that. On average is about 14%, so we'll leave that as it is. So all I've done is to change our application completion percentages by 4% and increased our yield rate by 0.5%. Just those two changes increase our enrollment. You can see here we're comparing it to the 2012 numbers. 513 versus 648, or $1.7 million. Pretty dramatic. Let's go on and show you a couple of other points. What we can do is break this into different cohorts and compare the cohort percentage conversions among the admissions funnel. Again, what we see here is the 4-year averages for nursing, and then for the freshman class as a whole that we just looked at. Our middle column shows what percentage of nursing makes up the total of the freshman class. For example, about 20% of the total inquiries that come in are made up of nursing students on average. This is an interesting statistic. Remember, we had 48% of our freshman class as a whole completing the application. For nurses, it's closer to 65%. However, for stealth applicants, the nursing applicants are converting at a lower rate than the freshman class. And here we show that the percentage of stealth applicants is about 6% of the total applications received versus 9.5% for the freshman class. Our summer melt for the nurses is 6.32 on average. So what we could do if we chose to is the same comparison or model that I showed you earlier. Here we show the 2012 nurses numbers on this column. On our variable data column, it's exactly the same, so we show 0 change in net revenue. But let's just change our, what do we want to change? Let's change our stealth completion rate. Let's just bring it up to the average of the freshman class as a whole and see what happens. By doing that, you see we have a net revenue increase of almost $19,000. Let's see, let's change our admit rate is very low compared particularly to the freshman class as a whole and to the average, the 4-year average of the nurses. So let's just increase that back up to our average and just see what happens. Oh, if I would enter it correctly, it might help. 0.4648. Admitting more students, obviously the yield probably is going to be a little bit higher, and we're talking about a $500,000 increase. And then our yield, we see where yield average is higher than our yield average for the freshman class. Close that out, sorry. And let's just increase this to the average. Let's just say it's 0.20. So you see our numbers of our anticipated enrolled students versus our actual enrolled nurses right here, about a $900,000 increase. And we do that with biology. We do it with their undecided students. And what we show here is the comparison of our transfer numbers in the purple, nursing students in the kind of lighter pink, biology in the blue, and undecided in the orange range, or excuse me, brown range. You can see that the total percentage of applicants received is about 2/3 of all their applications received come from these 4 areas of interest. And so what we can do by breaking down the conversion points and investigating them more specifically for each of these 4, we can create a communication strategy that's geared towards each of these 4 majors with the goal of increasing specific conversion points that are currently weak spots within the enrollment system, the enrollment strategy. and at the same time seeing, once we make those increases in conversions, what our bottom line net revenue increase could be. So it could help us budget on developing that strategy. So that's all I have to show you today. This is Robert Glass with Glass and Gold. I look forward to speaking with you.